welcome to Final Whistle Weekly. 4 games to go. Oh, it's scary. It's just like Christmas, except it's summer and there's not really much going on the 21st of December. It's nothing like Christmas, is it, everybody? No. But by the end of this weekend, we might have a clearer picture of where we're going to be next season. I am joined by, well, a cat crawling up behind Long, who I've got to say is doing a superb impersonation of that kitten out of the Goodies, a reference which absolutely nobody will remember. He brings down the post office tower, you know. Oh, wow, that's impressive. So the agile person's friend, Bill Long, and the head stuck in the bookshelf now. Oh, you know what? Let's just stick at this. Let's just if you're gone. If you're on the audio podcast, you're missing a treat here. Okay. So Bill Long and also the mighty Andy Parkinson. How the heck are you, chaps?
Well, very well.
I was a lot better before Rocky decided that she was going to become a mountain climber. So, yeah, all good.
Playing. Bill, don't tell Parky that we're over here. Right. Okie dokie, on the agenda today, last weekend, next weekend, and also an interview from the archives with a man who now is at the helm at Huddersfield Town, so I'll help him to sort out their ins and outs, but who used to play up front for Wrexham and was a ball boy in the 1994 World Cup, as he'll explain later. One of our original American players, Jake Edwards. But anyway, this is Final Whistle Weekly. Right, Wrexham at Wigan. Let's see if we can stretch this out to 90 seconds. Not much going on, really. I mean, if Wickham hadn't got that late goal, I'd say it's improved our position because we were in the same position with 1 game fewer to go. It's still in our hands, isn't it? But it was
we win 4 games, we go up.
Yeah, exactly so.
I think as disappointing as it was not to get a result, kind of at this stage of the season, there's not really a lot of difference between a point and 3 points, is there? Because if you lose, that gap's closed regardless. It makes things a bit messy if both of us start drawing, but in terms of just like a straight, they lose 1, we win 1, or vice versa, that point is the same as 3 points because we're still ahead of them. So it's kind of like not panic stations yet, but it does remove a little bit of a margin for error with we can't have any more draws, can we, basically?
You lost me at well. No, I think that we're still in a good position, partly because, like you say, Andy, it's still in our hands, and as well as I think you said, Bill. No, it's about, at this point of the season, digging in, keeping your nose in front, and I mean, on paper, and I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything. We've got well, never mind that we've got a nicer run in because teams raise themselves against us. I'm now coming to terms with the fact that's true. So we could still have 4 very tough games in our hands, but Wickham definitely have got 4 very tough games on their hands. They play the teams that are 4th, 5th, 7th, and 8th as the table currently stands. That's a horrible run-in, isn't it? And there's part of me thinks if they can win all 4 and get the 2nd place, hats off to them. They'll deserve it.
Yeah.
Those teams are... Well, go ahead, Bill.
No, I was just going to agree, Mark, and I think the game against, depending on how the games go on Friday, I think Mondays are kind of like, let's just assume we're both in the exact same position come Monday. That game against Charlton for Wickham is almost a win-win-win situation for us, because if Charlton win, they obviously do us a massive favour, but if Wickham win, they do us all a bit of a favour in keeping Charlton at bay, and a draw would be ideal. So that game I'm not too worried about. It's more that we've just got to keep matching their results, haven't we, Andy, now?
Definitely. And teams like Bristol Rovers, you think, well, that should be a Wrexham win, but they're fighting for their place in League One. So it's going to be, they're not coming here on Friday to lose.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, they've lost their last 6 games. So if we don't beat them, that's a huge blow, no question. But they played well against Birmingham last week. That you can't rule them out, and as you said, they have something to play for, which makes them dangerous. The frustrating thing for me is I fought against this idea that teams raise themselves against us. But I'm starting to come to terms with the fact that it's true now. The Wigan press guy after the match saying, "Oh, that's the best we played all season," and I'm sort of thinking, I'm getting a bit sick of hearing people telling me that. So even though we know as of our 4 remaining games, and obviously unlike Wycombe, we were playing 4 promotion contenders, 2 of our opponents, Blackpool and Lincoln, will have nothing to play for. But they'll still want to spank us on their grounds and have a nice, happy end to the season. So, yeah.
I think it's a bit of a myth, the old nothing to play for thing, because I think actually quite often teams that have nothing to play for have the handbrake completely off when they come across teams who are gunning for promotion. Because what's more fun in a season if you're a team that finishes anywhere sort of between 17th and 8th than ruining someone else's party? You've had a relatively mediocre season yourself, so why not bring a bit of misery to somebody else for a change? And like you say, because teams step it up against us anyway, it's like a double whammy, isn't it?
I mean, yeah,
Well,
and
players are playing for contracts,
and there's
playing for contracts next season. They'll have wives and kids and things that need feeding. They'll be looking to get deals.
And we all know if you don't feed your thing, you're in for trouble later on. I just, you say about relishing, sort of getting a result against us. Well, you could feel that at the Brick Community Stadium. I love my brick, as Father Jack used to say, because, God, the celebrations after a 0-0 draw were quite something. But they did hold us at arm's length. I mean, it's not that huge a shock. They got one of the best defensive records in the division, the best outside the promotion spots. So it's no huge surprise that they actually looked really good without the ball. Okonkwo really had one difficult save to make, didn't he? And then there was the other chance a minute later when it was hit straight at him and shouldn't have been. But for me, it had 0-0 written all over it, really.
Yeah, but we've had games like that in our run-ins previously. Thinking, Doncaster last year and the Halifax game the year before, and quite a few people on the way to the ground, and because I went on Saturday and on the way to the ground and just in the week in general, were saying to me, "We always got a feeling of Halifax this one." To me, so maybe if I'm being like the complete irresponsible optimist that we like to be on this show, it's a positive that we've come away from a potential banana skin like that with a point rather than losing to one of those shots, isn't it, Andy, really?
Very much so. And if I had said at the start of the season, we'll be in this position, we'll have 4 games to go, if we win them, we'll go up, everybody would have taken that, surely.
Yeah.
Any doubt.
Absolutely. Yeah. Irresponsible optimists. Please, everyone, if you're going to be optimistic responsibly. My public service announcement for the day. It was frustrating we couldn't get through, and I thought there was an issue with the service we got to the strikers. I felt sorry for Smith and Rodriguez. When we actually got into the game, basically the start of both halves and then the end of the second half, well, by then Rodriguez was off, but I thought Rodriguez looked quite lively, especially the first 15 minutes of the game. But when we're not getting the service forwards and not getting bodies up the pitch, he's got to go back and just be an extra body in midfield. And then he's not able really in the same way to show off what he's got. And then Smith's constantly chasing balls over the top of the defence and fair play. You know, he can make problems for defenders by doing that, but it's a lot of hard work, leg work for one or two chances to go his way. It was a bit frustrating to see those two sort of labour away without that much hope of getting some good service in front of them in the box.
As they say, if you can't win a game, don't lose it, and that's what we did.
Yeah,
absolutely right. Yeah,
and it's sorry, Andy.
We're talking over each other again.
Go on.
I was just going to make you sometimes look back in the season as well. You think about that Shrewsbury loss and things like that. Things, Shrewsbury have booked their ticket down basically. There were matches in the season that if we could have got 3 points at that stage, that will really matter as well. But the ultimate is we've got 4 games to go.
I kind of feel like all year we've gone on like a bit of a cycle of, well, apart from a bad patch when we lost to Leyton Orient and Stevenage back to back at home. I know the games weren't back to back, were they? I don't think, but they were back to back home games. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we tend to sort of go 4 or 5 games playing really well and then have a bad performance. Now, sometimes that performance ends up in a win that's bad, but don't know whether it's just a bit of coping mechanism from me, but maybe that's like our bad performance in a run of 4 or 5 games that we now then go and sort of do the business. I don't know about you two, but I've just been consumed with like all week just thinking about all the different scenarios that could play out, doing points tallies in my head and little predictions of where I think things could go for both, not even just us, because we've got to look at Stockport, I think, now as well, and the form they're in, and think, that game against Wickham for them could be a moment for them to steal second place if we fall off by the wayside. So it's looking really tight, Mark, isn't it?
I've got to ask you though first. I mean, I hate to knock your calculations off kilter, but have you taken into consideration wind direction?
No, I haven't considered wind direction or the air humidity. So both of those factors are something that I'm now going to walk away and do a Charlie Day style board in the room. It's actually off camera just over there. I'm going to be pinning strings to each other and putting them all over the place to consider all that.
Well, what's the bloke's name? The imaginary bloke that you think exists? That his board is trying to...
Is it Pepe Sylvia?
That's it. Yeah. Beautiful reference. You're stacking up the potential episode names here.
I've got a supercomputer running beside me that's trying to work out all the different predictions. And it's just flashing up saying it's going to be tight.
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting the same off my trouser size estimate of a supercomputer. It seems no matter what waistline I put into it.
Speaking of supercomputers, though, it's quite funny if you go back and look at Optistats' supercomputer prediction that they did at the start of the year, where they predicted that we'd be 19th. Stockport wouldn't be that far off. I can't remember exactly where in the table, but they were going to be just above us slightly. And I think Bolton were winning the league according to that calculation, which was obviously turning out to be incredibly wrong. Not that Bolton are a bad side, but just goes to show how much the game isn't played on paper, doesn't it, really?
I remember the game at Bolton. Was it third game of the season? Us getting a 0-0. And me saying how Bolton are clearly the best team in this division, and getting a 0-0 here is epic. And then they like lost their next 6 home games or something, didn't they? They're back in the conversation now, aren't they? I mean, we're all Bolton fans on Friday, but
yeah,
but now they certainly haven't lived up to the expectation. I remember reading all the pre-season previews. Previews so often come pre-season, don't they? Now I think about it, and I'm feeling quite affronted because they were all saying we're going to come 10th, 11th, 12th. I'm thinking, what, really? Don't you know who we are? And, I got too used to the success nonsense, and telling you it's getting me uncharacteristically confident about things. I just think with
expecting
Charlton
a playoff place.
What's again?
I was expecting a playoff place, if nothing else.
Good man. Exactly. I feel like with Charlton and Stockport, and bear with me because this might all fall apart as I'm saying it, I'm sort of not looking at them as much for the simple reason that I feel that if we allow them back into the argument for second place, we'd have blown it anyway. We've got a good enough gap over them with 4 games left that if one of them overtakes us, Wickham will have done anyway, in all likelihood. I feel like keeping those ahead of Wickham should be okay. And also that Friday, and I don't like, even at this stage, talking about huge games, but it's just crucial that on Friday we do what's expected of us. That's our nice looking game out before that you think, yeah, come on, just beat Bristol Rovers. They're struggling.
It's got a bit of a feel of it of that the Yeovil game, doesn't it? A couple of years back where we're playing it. All right, Yeovil were a little bit more destined for relegation than Bristol Rovers look, but it's a team from the southwest. It's a couple of days after Rob McElhenney's birthday. There's it's just, it's our second to last game of the season as well at home. So there's a few things that are starting to make it feel like. I remember everyone was thinking, oh, this could be really nervy. They're their relegation side. They're going to be playing for something. And then we ended up, first half was cagey, and then second half we just kind of steamrolled them a little bit, didn't we? So
Yeah.
hopefully we can do that this time as well.
There were all these fantastic elements of that game, and yet the thing that really sticks in my mind was that the old massive floodlights were on the way out, and it was really
Yeah.
And if you remember, it must have been 2 or 3-0 by then. But I remember Ben Foster having to make a save because a Yeovil player shot from the halfway line, and you could see by the way Foster reacted, he didn't see it coming until it was quite close to him, which I always found, having kickabouts as a kid in the dark when you're in goal. That's the thing about the darkness is it sort of makes it difficult to judge depth perception sort of thing. The ball's on you before you.
Yeah.
You can see it from a long way off, but somehow it arrives unexpectedly. And that's the main thing I remember is Foster making quite a good save from a guy who shot from the halfway line.
The whole situation with the floodlights before they got rid of them felt a little bit like the National League just sort of putting their fingers in their ears and looking away, didn't it, really? Like they weren't going to come and try and challenge us on that because they knew we were probably going up. So it's like, they've said they're getting new floodlights eventually. They're probably going up. Just leave them to it. Like that. There's no way that game should have gone on, really, was it? And I think there's another game not that long before it. It was in February against Woking, and the lights were just were terrible in that game as well. Good thing we got those nice new spangly ones, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, they're all right, aren't they? Was that
the impressive sky? When the sky come up there and all the lights are flashing and things, it's quite dramatic now.
Yeah. We used to only get flashing lights when the fuse was going in the old
Yes.
That Woking game was the one where Charlie was halfway up the pylons with a torch, wasn't it? Just trying to get a bit more light on the game. Put up the Ben Tozer Tower sign while he was up there.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We have managed to stretch out conversation about the Wigan game by not talking about the Wigan game. So well done to us for that. I should say, though, another clean sheet. There's more than one way to win a game, and not letting any goals in is a very, very effective approach, isn't it? Which we've got to take confidence from.
Yeah, 100%. We're going for the Italian catenaccio style, aren't we? It's
I like that.
Just shut everything out and hope we nick a goal, and why not? I think there's been a bit of a narrative around the quality of this team in terms of, and I think it's something that's worthy of a wider debate on a end of season podcast, maybe, where we can summarize it a little bit more effectively, depending on where we finish in this season. But the entertainment versus results factor, and I think it's fair and valid for people to enjoy different styles of football, and you can't argue with people having opinions and tastes and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, we win much more than we lose. We're second in the table. It might not be the style of football that everybody wants to watch, but there's this weird hangover of when everyone used to say Phil Parkinson was a boring defensive manager, and he wasn't. that now we have become a little bit of a boring defensive team to get results. It's like people are like feeling like they were justified for saying it when we used to beat Torquay 6-0 and Barnet 7-4 and Dover 6-5. You know, it's like we have become a boring defensive side in a way, but it's proven effective because we're second in the table and it's all in our own hands. And like you say, Andy, win 4 games, up we go.
And the standard is so much different to where we are now. Some of the more exciting 6-0s and 6-5s and things was at a level that's 2 leagues below us. You could argue now both Birmingham, Wrexham, and Wycombe are looking at the Championship. They got Championship type players. You're going to get 2 chances a game rather than 3 or 4.
Yeah.
You make a mistake, they're going to score. They're not going to be. It's a different level of football, and the control when you see Wrexham playing and people are urging them forward or that, but they're passing all the time from side to side, players are moving around. It's just a different level of football than it was 2 years ago, and you've just got to accept that. There's going to be less goals, it's going to be a bit nervy, it's going to be tighter. If you miss a chance, your next chance might not come for 15 minutes.
Exactly, and I just wonder whether the way we've actually sort of made it look quite easy to get promoted makes people think it's going to be easy, but they forget the fact that, like you say, we are going up in these increments up the divisions. I mean, just because, as Wigan illustrated, you're in the bottom third of League One does not mean you're not organised. I mean, they were exceptionally well organised and very hard to break through, and we failed to break through. And that is a failure, and it's a shame. But they've done that against a lot of good teams this season. And there's going to be less scope to wipe the floor with teams. People have, you hear lots of talk about concern about how would we cope if we went up, and I don't quite understand that. In that, lots of teams do go up and not come straight back down again, and we have backing, which some of those teams wouldn't have. But also, like I said, there's more than one way to win the game. And it's going to cost you a terrific amount of money to put together a free-scoring League One or Championship team, because you're going to have to be spending millions upon millions on all your creative players. But if you don't let goals in, you're not going to get relegated, and you're going to be up at the right end of the table. And in the second half of the season, I think that's what we've proven. We set the club record for the most 1-0 wins in a season, and we've got to remember, okay, 6-0 wins are more fun, but a 1-0 win is still a win. And when you set a record for any type of win, it means you've had a good season. Amen. Maybe I'm a responsible optimist. That's what I
am. We're not letting in so many late goals as well, and that's showing defensive as well. It's so frustrating when we let goals in the 90th minute and things like that, and that's stopped as well because it's just the higher level of performance that's required.
I mean, I've got to follow up by asking you guys a question. It's a question partly because I want to show off my nerdiness, because this is my favourite stat about Wrexham at the moment. But it's also a question to see whether you read my nice Wrexham Anorak pointless articles. So this is my bizarre, obscure fact. When was the last time Wrexham let a goal in on a Saturday?
Oh. At home or just in general?
Home or away? Oh, that's a point. Give me another thing to think about there.
Yeah, you've added a feature on it there.
It just goes to show, doesn't it, that how well we've been playing, that's a difficult one to figure out. But
well, shall I tell you?
Was it against Northampton at home? No.
No, that's too far.
No. Oh yeah. Oh no, go on, tell us. That's
Crawley, 1st of February, 2.5.
Yes. Yeah.
Last time we've let a goal in on a Saturday. Rodriguez and Smith's debut.
That's it.
It's the last time we let a goal in. And we still won.
Wow.
That is insane, isn't it? Now, okay, we had a couple of Thursday games and a Sunday game, so that's helped perhaps as well. But also, we just have not been letting goals in on Saturdays. We've just been keeping clean sheets hand over fist. That's insane,
but
it
just goes to show that the some of the narrative around Rodriguez, and again, I think I think that's one to revisit as part of a end of season summary, depending on how successful we end up being. But he's there's no point in completely shying away from it. He's had some pelters online off certain quarters of the fan base, and our record with him playing is something like 62% win rate when he's in the side.
Yeah.
62%, we win 2/3 of games that he plays in. And if we win 2/3 of the games that we've got left, we're going up probably, depending on how Wycombe play. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. And we draw most of the other ones.
Yeah.
We don't lose very often. I like Rodriguez a lot. And okay, you buy a striker, they don't score a lot of goals. I can see why people might not be happy with it. But I think he does an awful lot. And as I've said before on here, he does a lot off the ball. And I think that when you should be able to see more of what he offers if you're at the game than if you're watching the stream. Because I got a lot of time for Rodriguez, and I think technically he's very, very good. And we haven't seen the best of him yet, but I'm already feel we're getting benefit from him. And he, like I said, he is willing to sacrifice himself. He's playing up front. He knows he'll get criticised if he doesn't score goals, but he's still going to drop back and roll his sleeves up and work for the team when we haven't got the ball. And
Seth is scoring goals in the space he creates.
Yeah, exactly right. And also, let's be honest, the old cliche, a good defence begins at the front. So, yeah. All in all, onwards and upwards. Let's hope we can do it. Let's have a break. And then after that, we'll talk about the end of the Adran Premier season. Right, so last Sunday, the Adran Premier season ended. Wrexham ended up in 4th place, one position below last season. But I put it to you, gentlemen, that that's still a terrific achievement, because the way we got into that second phase and the results we got in the second phase, we went into the last day of the season top of the phase 2 table, if you see what I mean, if you just take the second phase results into account. I think that shows massive progress, because we're no longer taking on teams like Cardiff, Swansea, and hoping we could spring an upset. We're now taking them on and going into it looking to dominate and win.
Yeah, it's been a massive improvement. I've seen the results gone through. We've got better as the season gone on, and you hope you can take the momentum into next year when Cardiff and Swansea are not going to be. Well, they are going to be threatening, but we're going into those matches in the belief that we can win. So that hopefully will bring the title closer.
Exactly. I mean, Swansea need to rebuild. Didn't even get into the top half because we came along. They've lost their manager. Britain Ferry have been magnificent this season. Get promoted, play a more direct style of football, and have come second and have been terrific and incredibly difficult to play against it, like the Wrexham men's team. But their manager's left. Cardiff have done brilliantly to win the league this year. They're deserving champions. They did lose some real quality over the summer, and they, I know, are really pleased that they've rebuilt well enough to win it. But they also acknowledge that whereas the 2 previous seasons they strolled it, this season they've been challenged a lot more, and they're also very aware of the way we've played in the second half of the season. And so, next season, there's no question we should be aiming to make a proper challenge on the title. And we lost on Saturday to TNS, but it was a good game. We lost 3rd place because of it. A draw would have got us in the 3rd, but I don't think we need to worry too much about that. I think we should celebrate the progress we've made. Be aware we've got a Welsh Cup final to come in a fortnight. And also, Del Morgan, what a servant on and off the pitch. And she played her last league game of her career, and was honestly best performance by a Wrexham player, men's or women's team of the season. She was ludicrous. She made so many terrific saves. Lexi Jones, TNS's striker, good player. She was one-on-one on her about 4 times. And Jones scored the goal eventually, because there were two strikers in on goal. One drew Dell out and rolled it across, and Morgan to tap her in. But she couldn't beat her otherwise because she was absolutely insanely good. It's brilliant when you get people who, like say, work a lot off the pitch for the club and also on the pitch. She got a good send off and she deserved it.
Yeah. And it's good to see, and the fact that she's going into a sporting coaching career in some ways as well, which sometimes you have to make a move when the chance appears.
Yeah. It's just the amount of time she has, because she is Liverpool's goalkeeping coach, Wales under-19's goalkeeping coach. She's had over the last couple of seasons to miss some games. If Liverpool are playing on a Sunday, she can't play for us. So, I think that there comes a point where you can only stretch yourself so thinly, and something had to give. And it's a great shame, but the coaching is obviously a longer term career than playing. Plus, I do think she's made that decision selflessly, which is no surprise, because this season we've seen Lizzie Craven arrive at the club, and she's been utterly superb in goal as well. So Dell knows if she goes now, she can hand her on to a superb replacement, because Craven's been outstanding this season. So, well, no surprise that Dell has the club in her mind as well when she's looking to make decisions like that.
Hardness of the back, no doubt. Coaching for Liverpool pays the bills, and that will pay the bills for the next 10 years. And there's a hardness about any profession that eventually you have to pay the bills.
That is true, although I'm trying a little scam with the HMRC. I shouldn't have said that out loud, should I? Darn it. I live in the States, but the IRS think I live over here. I actually live in this pod, which floats just outside of territorial waters.
And somewhere near Mauritius, is it?
That's it, yeah. As long as I keep the piracy down to a minimum, I'm all right. Territorial waters, by the way, a lovely country park just round the back of Fly, I think. But the women's team have been absolutely superb. I was delighted to see the
defined by the Gwenny by any chance.
Sorry?
Is it defined by the Gwenny as well, your territorial waters?
My ingress and egress to my holiday home in Wrexham is generally along the Gwenny, although there's a nasty scratch on the outside of my pod now, because obviously, shopping trolley collateral damage. That's the issue. But yeah. It's brilliant. The club are subsidising coach travel down to Newport for the final. It's absolutely superb. It'd be great to get some vocal fans down there, because they were very vocal in the TNS game. Absolutely brilliant it was. Anyway, let's move along. After this, we will hear from one of our original American players, Jake Edwards.
If I could ask you first, before you ever came over, of course, you were in America, and I believe you were a ball boy at some rather big games, weren't you?
That's right. I was originally sort of from Manchester, but when my dad's work in the airlines as an engineer, most of my sort of first number of years we were going abroad, living in Africa and the Far East, and then eventually to America. So we actually emigrated to the States in '88. So I went on to high school. Went through 4 years in high school in New Jersey, and then got a soccer scholarship to a university down in Virginia, which was a 4-year program. And after that, which I graduated from there in '98, then I came back to the UK to play. The last 2 years at my university, I'd been coming over in my winter break and having the month playing or training with Tranmere Rovers each time. So through a connection with Ian St John, who actually had come over during the World Cup in '94 with Jimmy Greaves to do a program. And I met those guys then in '94 because I was in high school at the time, but I was a volunteer for the World Cup host committee in New York, and it was good. In the run up to the World Cup the year before, we were doing lots of events around the city, sort of marketing, promotional kind of events, and people like me that were actually playing football were doing various sort of like football related expos, little competitions, various things like that, getting people with a football doing things. So it was good. And then during the World Cup, my role ended up being as a ball boy, basically. But I guess your on-field game day staff was your technical title. Sounds better than ball boys. But yeah, it was great. It was a giant stadium in New York at that time. I think maybe I was about 15 or 16. And yeah, you were popping in and out of the dressing rooms, making sure they got everything they need, and then you sort of enter the pitch behind the team, and then you were against the New York Giant Stadium is kind of like a cauldron that just goes up straight. So there's a big wall around the pitch, so you're basically against the wall, and yeah, if need be, collecting a ball, putting the ball back on the pitch. It was a great experience. I got to do 2 games. Did the Italy Norway game, and then the Ireland Italy game, which is a kind of a great game that the Republic of Ireland beat Italy 1-0 with Ray Houghton scoring a volley over the keeper. And it was a great day. It was like 78,000 or something there. And then I managed to see a couple of other games while I was there, which was just a great experience. And as I say, through that I met Ian St. John. My dad was also a volunteer, but because he was based at the airport, he was sort of meeting and greeting and looking after people on the airport side. And I think the BBC had basically left Ian St. John and Jimmy Greaves kind of stranded, and with the budgets and whatever, they weren't perhaps looking after them. So my dad was the only one that seemed to recognise them, and then make sure they got to a hotel and got a couple of dinners at some restaurants, and sort of through that I got to meet them, and through Ian it was a case of come back over to the UK whenever you want, and he'll get you training at a team somewhere. So that's kind of how I ended up coming back to the UK.
And you ended up at Wrexham, of course. And how did you find it? Were you glad to get the shots there, I suppose? You had a trial first, didn't you? Yeah,
I did. No, it was really good. As I said, the first winter I came over to, I think it was 96, and I had a month at Tranmere. It was good. I played a couple of reserve games with them, and then I came back the winter of 97 to Tranmere again, and had maybe 3 weeks with there. And it was just sort of training and reserve games. Nothing was seeming to be happening for me. So Ian said, well, let's go down to Wrexham. And I had a week, I think maybe a week's training with Wrexham, and it was really good, and it went really well. And I played, I think, in one of the reserve game, and it was all very positive experience. So they said to come back in the summer. So I graduated that May in 98 and came back in the summer to do pre-season with them. I went on the tour to the Isle of Man. And signed at some point in that pre-season. So that was 98. Yeah, so I had 2 seasons from there with Wrexham after that.
And you found yourself arriving with all the fuss about Ian Rush arriving as well. What was it like to be working with him?
It was a really exciting time. I mean, there's some really, really good players on the team at that time. It was a bit of an older team. So it had some good players, experienced players. So it was great to be learning from those guys. And of course, Ian Rush had arrived then. So there was a big media storm about that. And of course, he's such a legend in the game, and he was still playing and still looked incredibly sharp in training. And so just to sort of watch him, and I think I played a couple of games with him, which was just a real bit of a dream come true, I suppose, for a younger player at the time. And then he eventually sort of taken on a coaching role of the reserve team, so I got to sort of see him, work with him, learn from him, and that was a really, really kind of valuable experience for me. I got a lot out of that, so I was very, very fortunate.
I must be honest, and I don't want to put you in a corner saying this, but personally, watching from the stands, I felt we looked a lot more dangerous side when you were in it than when he was in it. I must be honest. Is it sometimes frustrating, perhaps, trying to break into a team, but you've got well-established strikers ahead of you, and it limited your chances, perhaps, when you were doing well and you got a chance?
Yeah, I think overall, I mean, I had such a wonderful time at Wrexham. It was my first sort of experience in the UK playing, and and all the coaching staff, the players, I mean, everyone was just brilliant, the fans. I mean, I just absolutely loved it. It was totally different to what I was used to. So, with rose-coloured glasses, you always look back, everything's just fantastic, isn't it? But at the time, it was, it was certainly a challenge. I mean, I'd just come to a new country, let's say. It was a new style of football, and I'm just trying to break into the side. And I did get some opportunities here and there, and, I scored some goals, and I was scoring a lot of goals in the reserves at the time because I was getting a regular game there, and so I did get a couple of chances. But you're right. It was frustrating because I guess like you're the new kid on the block, and it's a pressure environment, and they need results, and you've got sort of established players who have had so many years in the football league, and it just seemed like my first year you had a couple of those players, and then you had Ian Rush who had come in, so. There's a big sort of emphasis to get him involved in playing. And then my second year, which I was feeling pretty positive about, then a sort of a new influx of players came in forwards. So there was always an enormous amount of strikers at that club. For some, which was perhaps unusual now, now for the sort of lower league clubs. But then it just seemed like you always had 5 or 6 strikers who all, could easily be playing, I think. So. And that was a bit of a challenge. I would have liked to have maybe, I would love to have played more. That's for sure. Yeah.
And I suppose that was a factor in you moving on. I suppose to get more.
Well,
of a chance.
yeah, that whole thing was a bit strange at the time. Yeah, because towards that second season, there was, like I said, a lot of strikers. And it was difficult to get a regular, any run in the side. So the opportunity came to go on loan for a few different clubs, which I actually kept turning down because I just wanted to sort of stay there and try and get in the side. But eventually, it was kind of made clear to me that would be the best thing to do. So I took the opportunity to go to Telford, which was in the conference at that time, and I think I don't know, scored a lot of goals there. Maybe it was sort of 12, 15 or something in about 11 games. So I had a good run of games and goals there. Hopefully with the idea of coming back and, just getting into the side. So, I mean, I found that level at that time really fairly easy, and it was not where I wanted to be. So I was able to score goals there and do well, but then it all turned into a bid, and they put a transfer offer in, and when the loan ended, the next thing I knew about it, I was in the office with the manager being told that they've accepted the bid and would I like to go,
Oh.
But, it wasn't the point of the exercise for me. Wasn't to do that. I was to get back in the side at Wrexham. But so I didn't want to do it. No, but then it was sort of made. It was kind of made clear that that's probably the best thing to do as far as. I think I was a younger player, a little bit naive, and I sort of listened to the advice and decided that's what I would do. I would do that, and it was sort of said, take a step back to take 2 forward kind of thing. So I listened to that advice, and in hindsight, probably shouldn't have, because it is actually quite difficult once you go down a division or two to get yourself back out of that division. And as a striker, then you need to score an incredible amount of goals to get back up into a higher division. So although I had great experiences at Telford, we had a good team, and made some good friends, and I enjoyed my time there. In hindsight, that was for me. I wish I could have somehow just stayed at Wrexham, but like I said, I was young, and there was a pressure on me to go to make that move. So. But it's fine, that's the way your football goes. I had a few seasons there, then I went back. I got kind of fed up with football in the conference at that time, because at the time you left Wrexham in the second division, and you're getting to go to Main Road and Fulham and Millwall, and you're playing where you want to be playing at that level. and aspiring to push on, but then it changes, and you're going, there's no disrespect, there's some decent teams in the conference at that time, but then you're also going to places like Lear, RMI, and Scarborough, and places that you don't want to be going to on a Tuesday night in February.
I don't know how that feels now.
Yeah, so at that time, it was a night and day difference. So I got a bit disenchanted, fed up with it all, and then at the end of that, I left to go back to the States after that spell, which was, I think, 2002. And I had a year back in America, had a few months playing at DC, and then a season playing in South Carolina in the US leagues, and I mostly enjoyed it, although I found it difficult because it was in the South and it was a summertime league, and it was just incredibly hot, over 100 degrees, every game, and it's only a 6-month season, so there's a few things that I just, I decided that actually, I want to try and get back in that league and do something there, so. Much to my wife's dismay, after moving her back, selling all the furniture, I said, let's go back to the UK. So I wasn't very popular for a bit. So I mean, in the end of it, had some good experiences. I went down to Yeovil, had a good time at Yeovil. It was a good side, and I played some good football there, and then moved on to Exeter, which is down the road, and we had a good side there, and we had a good, a really great run in the FA Cup, playing against Manchester United at Old Trafford in 05, I think it was. I got a 0-0 there and lost the return leg. And then prior to that, we had an FA Cup third round against Liverpool at Yeovil. So there's always, you look back and you think, well, what would I have done differently? But, you end up just going where it takes you, and you have good experiences along the way. And from Exeter, I actually took a loan spell at one point at Chester, and Mark Wright was there. A bit of fed up with things down there, and I wasn't seeing eye to eye with the manager, so let's get out of here, let's get a loan, and Chester came up, and didn't really think anything of it at the time until I signed, and then realised the first game was at Wrexham. So that was always going to be interesting. So that was I guess after leaving Wrexham, I played them once in the FA Cup when I was at Yeovil, and Wrexham came down, and I think we won that game maybe 4-2 or 4-1. I think it was
4-1, yeah.
4-1 it was, yeah. And then the next time we played them was when I was at Chester. So.
And they'll be modest, you scored, didn't you? For
I
Chester.
Scored again, yeah. I know, in that game it was, we were 2-0 down, and got the first, and then we maybe might have pushed on for the next one, but it was a really good. It was a bit weird at first, a bit awkward, to be playing against a team that I was really fond of the place. But once you're playing, and then you scored the goal, which was good, but we lost the game overall, which was good for Wrexham.
What's it feel like going back?
Sorry?
What does that feel like? What sort of reception as a Wrexham player do you get when you go there, come on and rescores for Chester?
I think mostly it was pretty good. I guess you get a few people, like there's a couple of people give you a bit of stick, like in every situation that happens. Yeah. But I think it's been a long time, since I've been there. And, I always enjoyed playing there, did my best there, and scored some goals there. So I think I got some good response from some people. I think a lot of people wouldn't have a clue who I was. It's been a long time ago, and I made a lot of close friends there with some of the fans and with some of the staff and friends in the town. So there was a good support network. It was lovely to go back and see Joey and a few of the old coaches and some of the old staff, secretaries and this kind of thing, so that was really nice,
Jake Edwards there, good bloke him, and I want to say I wish him all the best with Huddersfield. I suppose I do, as long as they don't cross our paths in the playoffs, but we don't want to be in the playoffs. Now you might be wondering, where's Bill, where's Andy? Well, I'll tell you where they are, not here, because we finished our meeting, went to just do another one, and Zoom appears to have had some sort of outage, and therefore we couldn't get back online again. So it falls to me to, on their behalf, say thanks everyone for listening, and join us next week for another Final Whistle Weekly.